Hi everyone, welcome once more to our session of vegan activism here today at the 31st of January. We've been doing the Veg Fest UK online this weekend, our fourth online event during this pandemic that's now been with us for a year. And we're all in the UK here in another lockdown. Just hoping to come out of that before too long. One of the beauties of this online format is it gives us an opportunity to talk to people from all over the world, and of course we can share the assets later. People can use these conversations to stimulate their own conversations, and also to just get some good resources, some good inspiration, some good focus. We've been talking a little bit about grassroots vegan activism today. I've been talking also about some creative activism. Right now, we're going to be talking about black vegan men and the Western vegan movement. And to host this panel, we're thrilled to be able to welcome Raleigh Bourne, who's been at Veg Fest for a number of years, actually. So it first came over to Veg Fest back in 2013. He's been back a couple of times since, came again in 2018. Was going to come in 2016. Really good panel of hosts, of course, founder of Black Veg Fest, which we've been helping a little bit in a little way, help support and promote and stuff. So without further ado, thanks for joining us, Omowale Adewale. Thanks, Omowale. Here you are from New York City. How are we doing, Omowale?
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that, Tim. It's wonderful to be back at Veg Fest UK. All right, even if it's virtual. I brought some awesome, incredible people, friends along in the vegan community, specifically the Black vegan community, that people don't know that it is thriving right now. And so we're excited to share everything that folks are doing individually, that I think that people can connect right now, right? Because it's international and you could just put something online. And I think that the guests will, can speak to the climate right now in terms of veganism, politics. And then also I would love to talk about Brotha Vegan, because they're also all contributors of Brotha Vegan debuting February 23rd. Thank you for having me, Tim.
Thanks, Omowale. And on that note, just to say that you're going to be, you mentioned you've been at our shows before, but you're going to be at a few more too online. We're hoping, we've got some plans. You mentioned there the Brotha Vegan. Now, that's a book. Your second book that's coming out on Lantern Publishing on the 23rd of Feb. And I'm thrilled to say too, we haven't even announced this, but we're going to be hosting a book launch with you and some of the contributors from the book. So that's really exciting. We definitely want to hear a little bit more about that. But of course, as you mentioned today, we've got some really interesting guests too that are joining us. Kind of spanning, because I think all of us are conscious it's a really interesting time for America. We all look to America. Those of us that don't live in America, we all look to America for a lot of stuff going on. It's been an incredible, powerful time. And we'll really think, just about everyone I know, absolutely thrilled to see the change there. But of course, that also brings its own concerns. I know we talked about that before, but we'll come to that. We've got a good hour. So without further ado, Omowale, if you'd like to hand over, and what I'm going to just say, I'm going to take a little sit back here and listen and let you guys get on and talk, and I'll make a few notes, and then I'll probably pop back at the end to sort of help wrap up. And there will be a chance to ask questions if anything comes up. Okay. There's a comment section, and I'll invite all our panel to address those maybe later on. They're on Facebook there, so you can go on there and address them if you want. We'll make sure we keep a close eye on them there. Omowale, let's have, who have you got lined up today? Spanning a few generations, I believe.
Well, right. So we have 3 generations of incredible guests that's going to come on. First, I'm going to go from youngest to eldest, and I'll first start with Raleigh Bourne. This is a boxing phenom. He's a phenomenal boxer, champion, boxer, and young guy. is in his teens. He'll tell you how old he is right now, but he's vegan and it helped his family, go vegan. And while he's, maintaining being a champion, I think that more people need to know, Raleigh. Next, I got to bring up Scott Bernhardt. He's burning up online, incredible fitness expert. If you don't know about him, I don't know where you've been, but he's killing things right now all over. Definitely check his Instagram, check his YouTube. He'll go more into that. He does these huge groups of folks, dozens, scores of people in there, just learning and working out, strength and conditioning, weight loss. He could talk more about that as well to connect with folks. Last but not least, my brother Kevin Jenkins. Listen, this is an elder. First off, you'll be thinking, why I didn't say him first? Because he's a young guy. He doesn't look like an elder, but you'll find, that he's a jack of all trades. And ladies, he's also I don't know if you're still single, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So incredible man who's been vegan for a long time. He done his podcast. He does expert security, as well. And he can speak on more other issues as well. And everybody here is an incredible cook. So you talking about men who know how to cook, how to put some food together. All right. So welcome everyone to this conversation. And listen, let's go right to it. At any time y'all want to jump in, and get it fired up. But I'm gonna start from the top of the list. So this is activism that we want to discuss. And the first thing I want to bring up, we had a transition right now in terms of government administration right now from this awful administration, and we got rid of that one. So I'm not saying that we're going into something a little better, not exactly what we wanted, but it's definitely a whole lot better, and we need to have that conversation, on what are we looking at for 2021 right now. We had an incredibly awful year, tough year for Black folks, for veganism, in terms of our community. Who wants to tackle this first head on in terms of what you got planned for 2021 in this new climate? I'm gonna call on Scott Bernhardt.
he's gonna call on me because I was thinking, I was getting my thoughts together. So basically, I want to start off like this because I feel like 2020 was the year of enlightenment, is the year of the wake-up call. Like that was the year. 2020 was the year that if you are not healthy conscious, if you're not conscious about what you're putting into your body, then you need to get it right. You need to get it right now. It kind of weirds me out that the fact that people are so concerned about washing their hands and sanitizing, which you should be concerned about, but they're never concerned about what they're putting into their body that can actually compromise their health. So 2020 was the wake-up call. Now 2021 is when, okay, we have the wake-up call. Now we need to put it into action. Now we need to educate more brothers and sisters about what is going on, understanding how to build up the immune system, understanding how to build up your overall health in general. So that's my take on it.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go to Kevin. Kevin, so 2021, the transition in terms of the politics, and do you see a rise of folks in our community going vegan? We're going to keep it very Black. I want to let y'all know we're going unapologetically Black right now. All right?
Yes.
Just so we clear right now. I want to frame it, make sure we unapologetically Black. We speaking to the community. We allow other folks, to have conversation. We building an international conversation, and we're gonna keep it Black. Thank you, Scott. Kevin.
Yes, sir.
Please.
Well, absolutely. the fastest growing demographic, it was reported by the Washington Post last year, that's going vegan are African Americans. They're the fastest growing demographic. And this is the time for us to really build on that. There are many people who are starting, just like Scott Bernhardt said, they're paying attention to what's going on, and they're making a correlation between the coronavirus and eating animals, because every virus in the history of the world has always come out of animals, and this is no different. And so people are beginning to pay attention. Now, as the older guy in the group, I've lived through this before. I'm not talking about the coronavirus now, but I'm talking about like the government and stuff. I was like 19 years old around that time when Nixon had to resign. That was one of the baddest things in America. And but this is worse. This was worse. This was worse. But this is a time where folks are starting to say, hey, there is a connection between sickness and what you put on your plate. Right. And I believe that we have an opportunity, all of us on the panel, and especially with Brotha Vegan, because with this book coming out, I often talk to brothers, I work out in the gym, and a lot of the young guys younger than me, and when they find out how old I am, and then they find out I'm on plants, they say, well, how in the world can you build muscle mass? I said, well, just look at me. I've been eating plants since I was 19 years old. Look at the gorilla. Look at the elephant. Right. They have no problem doing that. So we have a great opportunity to capitalize on that, especially with Black men, because Black men have these issues of high blood pressure, diabetes, and here's the big one, what a brother would not want to admit. They have these issues of ED, and those who don't know what ED is, erectile dysfunction. And that all comes from eating animals, clogging up your heart system where your blood cannot flow.
Thank you. I appreciate you bringing that up too. There's so much that we can learn from a vegan diet. And I think that a lot of times in our community, we don't actually recognize that when we talk about veganism, it's also going to address issues that are specific to the Black community, right? So we got heart disease is a major killer in the U.S. overall, but also with our community. How many folks that we know have heart disease? So we don't even. It's not just talking about veganism. It's also the planet. It's also you as an individual. It's your grandmother, your grandfather might need to adopt this this lifestyle as well. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for bringing that up, Kevin. I want to go to Raleigh, and I really want to know. Of course, I have a couple of teens, but let folks know how are teens dealing with this pandemic, and because, look, back in the days when I was a teen, when I was young, I wanted to get outside. I wanted to go outside. I wanted to run around. We got to burn up this energy. And you're an athlete, just like I was, and I stopped fighting 2017, right? So you have all this energy as well as a young person, but also as a dedicated athlete. How is that affecting you, Raleigh?
I feel like it's affecting me because I can't really work out as much because of COVID stuff. Everybody's not keeping healthy. You can't go to the gym all the time. But people should go eating healthy for the time.
We got a little technical difficulties, on the audio. If we could, so while Raleigh, straightens that out, I want to go ahead and get that conversation and start talking about linking up or building bridges, right? So one of the things that Brotha Vegan wanted to do within our community, right? Yes. Even if it's in front of other folks, is as well. I want to make sure that at least folks build these bridges while we are online, and we're not able to connect, offline, because obviously we didn't have Black Veg Fest, outside. Everything is in. How do we build and how do we link with our community, right now? And I'm gonna put that to Scott. How do we actually build, because you're kind of in the middle, of us. I'm in my 40s, you're younger than me, I'm younger than Kevin, but you're kind of more in that middle, how do we build that bridge, and with different ages and demographics right now in this climate, brother?
So right now is the age of technology. So we have to look at what we have in front of us and how we're going to utilize it and how we're going to spread the message out. I believe that everybody is on a Zoom call every single day. This was not the norm before the pandemic. Surprisingly, Zoom stock rose up because everybody's on Zoom. And that is a clear indication that everybody has a need for communication and everybody has a need to connect with one another. So they're using all these different video streaming platforms to connect with people. Even, sorry, it's Scott, her phone came. Okay. Is it better now? Okay. All right. So I'll just hold it like this. So revert to what I was saying. So right now is a time where people have a need of communication and people have a need to connect with one another. So the most important thing that we need to do now is how we're going to utilize the communication, how we're going to get the message out to the people. Best way we can do it right now is through video streaming. Social media plays a very, very strong part because now everybody's on their phone. Everybody's on their phone. Everybody's on some kind of technological device. All right. So once me myself, I'm a content creator. I'm on YouTube. So since I am a content creator, I'm going to put out content for people to watch and people to relate to. And no matter what age you are, no matter if you're a teenager, no matter if you're an adult, no matter if you're, part of you're elderly. So the most important thing is putting out content. Most important thing is putting out the message. Most important thing is to express what it is we are trying to do as a community, what we're trying to do as a whole. And right now is the perfect time. It's a lot of people that's home right now, and since they're home, they're always thinking about, what should I do? What I mean? Like, what should I do? Like, should I just linger off or should I just do something? But when you give them something productive to do, or when you give them something that's a productive dialogue where they can follow along and they can really have some critical thinking, some analytical thinking, now you have them, right? And once you have them, then they can start to kind of get their feet wet. And once they get their feet wet, they start to say, you know what, I'm kind of really interested in this. I think I'm going to take the initiative and go out there and do some more research on it. So right now, what we have to do is pump out content, especially on a social media perspective. And what we're doing right now is a great example because a lot of people is watching right now and they're going to hear a lot of different mindsets and a lot of different ideals and things like that. But you have to put out content and have to put things that are going to make people think and going to make people really intrigue and engage them. So right now is the perfect time. Social media.
Thank you. I appreciate that, brother. I've been so I'm a part of some incredible groups. Black Veg Fest, of course, Malcolm X grassroots movement as well. We all focused on self-determination and for Black people, right? And key thing was you really had to be so invested in paying attention to the election, which was is critical. And everyone has an idea right now that Black people changed this election in America, right? We could bring up names like Stacey. We could talk about how she galvanized folks in Georgia, and really influenced how we have this conversation about and how we actually create solutions to get this evil person out of office. right? And so I want to really know, like, what part do we feel like we played, you know, and in terms of past tense, you know, what did we do, you know, in terms of with our platforms, with our voices, but also with our votes. So right now, this gives people an idea in terms of the complexity, the differences, and even the similarities of Brotha Vegan. You know, and I'm gonna start with Kevin, and I'm gonna go to Raleigh, and we're gonna go to, you know, back to Scott, and give me an idea in terms of the part that you played, because we talking about the community, right? We talking about the community. What part did we play to make sure that we allowed the community to excel, or we supported Black women, you know, who, you know, really, you know, took the mantle and took the leadership, and but we still played a part. What part did we play as individuals, Kevin?
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that, Omowale, how Stacey Abrams galvanized a lot of folk. I'm unique in that I have, like you said in the introduction, I wear many hats. I deal with VIP protection. I was in D.C. the day before the Capitol riots because the VIP needed protection. I was there for the inauguration, the same situation. Two things, and I also have the platform as a pastor. I pastor a denomination called the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which promotes vegetarianism and veganism. Dan Buettner wrote the 5 blue zones, and one of the blue zones, one in America, is in Loma Linda, where mostly Seventh-day Adventists live, and they live longer than the average person. And so, using my church, and I'm just not preaching about the new world to come, I'm dealing with politics too also. And so I urge my folk to get out there and vote and register people to vote. In addition to that, the coronavirus situation, only 2 of my members, and I have a church of over 150 people, only 2 tested positive for the coronavirus. They have recovered. But the reason why the rest of them did not is because I'm an advocate of veganism. And they see me, they see my energy. I preach it, I live it, and a lot of folk have changed their diets basically on that. And let me add something else. A shrewd move that President Biden did to get Kamala Harris as his vice president. She's a member of AKA, Alpha Kappa Alpha, the first Black sorority that was founded at Howard University. My aunt is AKA, my oldest daughter is AKA, my oldest cousin is AKA. And part of that ushered in what we call the Divine Nine, the Black sororities, the Black fraternities, like Alpha Kappa Alpha, the Omega Psi Phi on the other side for the men, Deltas, and etc. So that galvanized all that group to go out and register people to vote and to participate in that. So you got the church, you got the sororities, you got the fraternities, you know, on that. And of course, Stacey Abrams and many people behind her, because they said that this election was pivotal. As far as I'm concerned, I'm a guy, as you see in the back here, I'm a voracious reader. When I worked in the library as a teenager, and you know, I'm a bookaholic. And I wanted to know, why did Adolf Hitler get elected to Germany, turn Germany to Nazi Germany? And I read the Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. It's a very thick book out, and I read that. We came close to having Nazi America. We came very close to that with this previous administration. And so with all that galvanizing and the grassroots movement and all that we did, it overturned that. And let me tell you something before I close out. There was an African-American clergy group that decided 40 days prior to the election to call for 40 days of fasting and prayer. Now, we didn't fast all 40 days. You could have, like, maybe you miss a breakfast or something like that. But that had something to do with where these guys got together and got their churches together, because this guy was off the rails. Never seen nothing like it. Like I said, the close for me was Nixon, you know what I mean? But he surpasses Nixon. And I'm so glad that 80 plus individuals turned out. And in New York State, it was the first time they had early voting. So I was there the first day of early voting, and the lines were long the first day to vote. So I'm glad that it took a lot of individuals who galvanized people to get this job done. But like you said, the job is not over. There's other things that need to be done in this era.
Thank you. I appreciate that, brother. Excellent, excellent points. And I appreciate the the work that you are doing, on the ground. Definitely, please do keep it up. So I want to go to my brother Scott. So same thing, so in terms of like your work, your contribution, 2020, 2021, but mainly 2020, right? In terms of like, how would you say you assisted, or if you did not, and it's okay to be, accountable, to that. But I believe that I'm gonna let you go ahead and take it, brother.
Yeah, can you hear me? All right, mic check. All right. So one of the ways I've contributed in 2020, to be quite honest, I didn't have much human interaction, not as much. I mean, yeah, I taught a few classes outside, when the virus wasn't as active in the summertime, taught a few classes outside. So right there, I'm contributing to the health aspect of it. Now, 2020 was a great year for me. And as far as a great year, I mean, really big success on my YouTube career. Recently reached 100,000 subscribers, which is amazing. But most of the content that I was putting out in 2020, I was talking about different herbs. I was talking about different natural medicine. I was talking about cooking as well, too, as far as like cooking vegan food and cooking food that's going to give you health and nutrition, cooking food that's going to help fulfill your spirit, cooking food that is going to help enhance your health in general. So for me, 2020, my contribute was basically on a social media tip, because I really did not have that much human interaction. Like, of course, I would be at Black Veg Fest, I would be at many different events, but because of the pandemic, had to stay safe. But even though I was staying safe, I was still being active. You could stay safe, but you could also still stay active. So what I did, I just utilized my platforms as far as my social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, which is my biggest platform right now. And using these different platforms, putting out content. Like I said before, people are home at this apparent moment. So if you're putting out the content and you make it interesting, and it grabs somebody's attention, right? Now from there, you have a viewer, and you can, and from there you have a viewer, and while they're viewing it and they find it more interesting enough, then they can share it to their aunties, they can share it to their uncles, they can share it to whoever it may be, friends and family. Great example. I had put out a video on my YouTube channel, and I think I did a collaboration with this young lady. I can't remember her name. 10 antiviral herbs to look into, and just putting out the information. Just me putting out the information, putting out the education about the antiviral herbs that can help somebody. And I have so many different testimonies of people that said, "Hey, Scott, I tried out, I watched your video and I got this and that, and I had this situation going on. And because I tried this, I'm here today," or "it helped me out," or "it helped a family member." So what I did for 2020, I contributed as far as a social media aspect with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, so people can gain the knowledge. I'm sure Brother Kevin Jenkins know this verse. There's a verse in the Bible that says, "My people will perish for a lack of knowledge."
Yes.
And
I appreciate that.
My people will perish for a lack of knowledge. And it's so true, especially in the Black community. We have been taught to eat a certain way. And if you don't eat a certain way, then you're not Black.
Yes.
not knowing that the way that we've been eating for so long has been detrimental to our health, not knowing that the way that we've been eating has been causing the heart disease, causing the cancer, causing the colon cancer, causing all these different kind of diseases to dismantle and destroy us as people. And people who do not understand and do not have the knowledge think that these things just come from the sky, not knowing that these are the things that happen when you continue to live a certain lifestyle. And this is why we as brothers, as educators, as elders, as people with knowledge and wisdom and understanding need to bring out the knowledge more and to help educate others that do not have the education, and you could save lives. So that's what I did for 2020.
And
I appreciate that.
I want to add something to what Scott said. I'm sure you guys have saw the meme with this lady in the kitchen cooking soul food. And it says soul food been killing black folks since 1620.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
1619, really.
Yes, yeah, really 1619.
Right.
But it gave a little year grace period for a year, you know.
Right.
And what Scott is saying, listen, I watch all y'all on YouTube and I get inspired. I even do some of the exercises that y'all do to challenge myself, you know. And it's right, because all these, I think, what's the guy's name? Michael Greger put that book out called How Not to Die. And he talked about the 15 leading causes of death in America and how all of them can be cured through a plant-based diet. Now, let me tell you in a special way. I raised my oldest daughter. I have 2 daughters. Raised them vegetarian. She gets married and she starts eating meat again. Well, recently, a couple of weeks ago, maybe within a month, she went to the doctor. Doctor says she got type 2 diabetes, right? And so we had a conversation. I said, you need to go back to what you know.
The origin.
Back to what she knows. She went to the doctor 2 days ago. The numbers dropped exponentially. You know what I mean? The doctor told her, keep on doing what you're doing. So it works.
Excellent. That's beautiful. I appreciate that testimony too. Because sometimes in our community, and I want to speak on some of the things that Scott said, but to Kevin's point, sometimes in our community, we don't recognize that they're life changing. You know, I take an ethical approach to veganism, even though I'm an athlete, and I think anytime that I was speaking, normally, folks would always assume that it must be for the health, because they, folks definitely do, box us in, as black men, they box us in a number of ways. So we really have to get into that conversation. We get boxed in to think we're violent, right? We get boxed in, to think that, we're a monolithic group. We get boxed in to think that if I'm an athlete, we're all athletes. You know what I mean? Or that we can't be jack of trades, that we can't, hear different conversations. I'm definitely not religious. You know what I mean? But I agree with, what Kevin is talking about and Scott's, quote, biblical quote, as well. And that's kind of the range and Brotha Vegan. That's the range. And I think we just want to hold true to what Black people are, and there's some differences, and that's the beautiful spectrum that we share, with this community. So in terms of, what Scott was saying, excellent big point, brother, and I think we definitely I think that is activism. I think that is activism. We got to put that together, though. It just needs to be, I think, a formulated, plan. And nothing wrong with, building in, upon a plan. So I think that in terms of, in the same vein, what Black Veg Fest does, we want to educate folks on what's happening with the planet. We want to educate folks what's happening with animals that's having an impact on you, that when you consume these animals, it exacerbates your health conditions. You know, you get heart disease, you get diabetes. So I'm glad that you brought that up, Kevin. That we're teachers and we're fathers, you know, as well, and we bring wisdom, you know, to the conversation. We share that. So I want to share. I want to bring Ra True, is Ralik's father, in as you know as well. And brother, what has your family, you know, contributed, you know, to this? And know that it could be a small contribution or it could be a major contribution. You know, essentially, you know, what do we get to the community? It's already a contribution because you got an incredible son, and y'all vegan. So, brother, share with how your family's been, you know, came through 2020, and your also your thoughts in terms of election, if that played a part.
Well, definitely 2020 has been a very trying year for us all. And as far as, well, there has been some blessings in 2020 in disguise, as far as people becoming more aware, more conscious about their health, more conscious about the intake of food. And people are really trying to constantly build their immune system up now because of the coronavirus and all. And that works as a blessing for us, because us as being vegans, we teach this to our family, our immediate family. My whole household is vegan, but my immediate family, my extended family as well. I talk to them all the time, and Raleigh really doesn't fully understand the impact, you know, that he has, direct impact on me, because, you know, he was pushing the fact about becoming vegan, by learning about other boxers that became vegan, and in turn, when we did become vegan, it helped me overcome diabetes and high blood pressure.
Yes, sir.
You know, and that definitely, because, you know, if it wasn't for that, I don't know where I would be at now, because prior to that, I didn't know anything about veganism or nothing at all. And it was a learning process and trials and errors. And I'm glad that he led me to this path. And also the impact that he really has being vegan, that the older guys in the gym, they always ask him questions. A couple of guys in the gym became vegan because they see Raleigh and his work ethics and, you know, his fighting skills, and they constantly ask him questions about it. In the beginning, you know, he was a little shy and worried about it because he didn't have the answers. But, you know, through his studies and all, he tells them about herbs. You know, we constantly drink herbal tea all the time, and the diet. He tells the guys about protein, and, you know, he really made impact to guys in the gym, and even some of his schoolmates he was telling me about. His classmates was asking him about it, and, you know, he made change in their life. So the impact,
Right,
it's very, very, very strong that he's putting on his peers and his family, but he really doesn't understand that. He doesn't really see that now. But, you know, hopefully through all this, hopefully he really sees it and keep. I know he's going to keep continuing the things that he's doing.
that's beautiful. That really resonated with me, man. Because I do have you know, my daughter is you know, incredible. I have one daughter, you know, that she checks me all the time, give me information. She listens, like she actually want to hear me, you know, lecture and give out information, which is mind-boggling. But she had once, you know, she also, you know, grounds me and centers me as well. I'm like, Dad, you know what I'm saying? I'm arguing with her back and forth. Do you see yourself? And I was like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? This, you know, that's my middle child, you know, Aziza. And so I tell her this, right, that she's having a great impact. Raleigh, what is it? How does it make you feel? And what do you understand when your father says that he's grateful that you helped him, you know, stay in this life with you, you know, that you actually, you know, empowered him to go vegan and your family, brother, you know, share, please.
Yeah, I feel very grateful for every single person that I helped become and get a better, healthy lifestyle, because I helped a lot of people around my school, gym, maintain healthy lifestyles. Now they're working out even better. They're not getting any more sorenesses. The COVID isn't really much of a factor because they don't really need to worry about that since they're healthy. And many other people thank me for leading them to a healthy lifestyle.
I appreciate that. Thank you, brother, being on there. It seems like everybody's on the front line. It's great. How old are you now, Raleigh?
I'm 14 years old.
14. So the brother is 14, doling out wisdom.
Yes.
You need to remember that brother's name, Raleigh Bourne. Doling out wisdom, transforming, his home. Oftentimes, we're pleading with our kids to eat better. You know what I mean? So here, it's this dynamic, example of this young brother, that's basically leading the charge in his own family and taking it out in his community. I commend you, brother. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I also want to bring up this conversation needs to also include, and because it's included in Brotha Vegan. Now, I think everybody is cisgender, so I'm gonna give everybody a quick lesson in cisgender folks, and I think everybody, and I could be wrong, I don't know everybody, but I think everybody is cisgendered heterosexual. Meaning cisgendered, you look like, the gender that you actually, identify with, right? And so that is a heterosexual, a straight man. And so the cis het. And so we cis het folks. And so sometimes in the Black community, Black men, we don't necessarily recognize because we're in an oppressed community. We're still in an oppressed, community. You might have some millionaires, even some billionaires here and there scattered, around. We talk about America, America as an example, but we could also talk about the entire globe, but when it comes to the resources in our community, we don't get to control them. Like, for instance, we could bring up a billionaire, Oprah, but we know that she needs to use, someone else's media source, someone else's, cable, and somebody else is doing the manufacturing, somebody else is doing the distribution, so when we talk community, so yeah, we'll get some money, entertainment, because we're entertaining folks. We used to be forced to entertain people. Now we get money for entertainment. So I want to also, point to being a man, comes with some, some privileges. They come with some benefits, even if they come with heartache being a Black man. And if we talk about in U.S., you could talk about the entire globe. We know that folks who are queer, we know that folks who are Black, trans, essentially more likely to be homeless than everyone else, and that's our community, as well. Those are Black folks. Those are Black folks. Those are also Black folks that's been on the front lines. They've been on the front lines. You talking about Black women. You talking about Black trans. You talking about the first time we started fighting, and addressing police brutality were trans folks. Do we know that? Marsha P. Johnson, 1968, Stonewall Riot, banged back at the police, telling folks not to come at us, right? I remember being there at Sean Bell, a rally for Sean Bell. It's 2006, right? There were Black trans folks supporting Sean Bell, who was murdered a night before he was going to be married. Black trans folks, you might feel like they got nothing to do with that. Hell no, they Black, right? That could happen to them too, right? They know that they've had that right. So I want to have that conversation, with us. I do have a Black trans man that is in Brotha Vegan, and that is the purpose for that. You know what I mean? They need to be there and count it, and then other folks also need to. When you go, what do you do in our community when you get power? What do we complain about all the time? What happens? What do we complain when we talk about Jay-Z? When we talk about Oprah Winfrey or Bill Cosby? They don't share power. They don't share resources. They don't put out the message. They don't do this work. So as an activist myself, we extend, that network, out and building our community. Let's get some folks, and some opinions, on this piece. Who's first? Or I gotta go back to pointing out. Okay, Kevin.
Yeah, I'll be first. This is a war. We are in warfare.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make a comparison to the United States military. There's more than one branch. There's the Army, there's the Navy, there's the Marines, there's the Coast Guard. All hands on deck. And then you got subsets in each branch. In the Navy, you got SEALs. In the Marines, you got the Marine Special Forces. So just like you said, regardless of what's one's sexual orientation, they understand this one fundamental thing: you black first. It's like, I've pastored folk from the Caribbean mostly in my ministry, and I'm Native African American, right? And I remember being in Brooklyn in the early 80s when all this stuff was going on. A lot of stuff was happening with police brutality, and these individuals who came from Jamaica, Guyana, and etc., they didn't understand the black experience, right? And they thought that these things were not going to happen to them. But then, what's that brother's name that they chased in, Michael Griffin? Michael Griffin. What was the name of that community in Queens? I forgot the Italian community where John Gotti lived. I forgot the name of it. It can't come to me at this moment. But Michael Griffin got chased, got killed. He was from Guyana. So these individuals that chased him didn't ask him, well, what was your nationality? What was your sexual orientation? They just saw black skin. So the bottom line is, in this struggle, it's all hands on deck as it relates to the liberation of black folk. And I got to tell you, historically, when you study us, we cannot be defeated. When you think about all the stuff that we've been through since 400,000 have been transported from Africa to here, I'm talking about in America, 400,000 slaves, that was the max that came here. From 400,000 to 14 million, and threw everything at us, including the kitchen sink and beyond, and we're still here. And when you think about the Native Americans, who are 100% of this population, and they're just down to 2%, that tells us something. That tells us that we are resilient, that we are mentally tough, that we are powerful, more powerful than we believe. You understand? So my opinion is all hands on deck in this struggle for black liberation.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Just jump in, y'all.
Yeah. Can you repeat the question one more time?
Oh, so I want to hear folks, you basically speaking to what place or what's your thoughts in terms of black trans, queer folk, black queer, in our community, do we hear their cry? Do we hear their struggle? Because they were struggling in 2020, and we understand them to be more marginalized, right? The most marginalized in our community, of the most marginalized, within our community. Speak to your interaction, whether you agree, disagree, hear your opinions. We just having a conversation. We not,
Right. So what I'm about to say, I think it's very simple. Like Brother Kevin said, we are at war. We are definitely at war. And we need to come to an understanding that people are people. We all bleed the same blood, no matter if you're trans, no matter if you're gay, whatever your sexual orientation is. We all bleed the same blood. People are people, and we just need to come together as one. Just put everything, put the egos, put the sexual orientation to the side and say, okay, we put that to the side. Now, if we come together for a mutual cause, for a mutual understanding, okay, what can we do together as people?
Mhm.
That's it. Literally, like, we are just people at the end of the day. And it's like, okay, what can we do together as a collective? All right, so what is it we're trying to achieve? How we're going to achieve it? What are the actions that needs to be taken in place in order for us to achieve that that mutual goal that we're looking for? That's it. And also, we need to cut out the segregation. We need to cut out the separation, because isolation is the plan of the enemy at the end of the day. Isolation is the plan of the enemy at the end of the day. That's what they did with slavery. They isolated the Africans coming out of the continent of Africa. And with the isolation, then you can really implant whatever it is you want to in an individual's mind, because they're isolated.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And also, like Brother Kevin said, we're stronger as a people. We're stronger as a unit. A great example: the first uprising that happened in Haiti. The first uprising that happened in Haiti, when a group of courageous black slaves, I don't want to call them black slaves, I want to call them black warriors, that rise up and say, enough is enough. We're going to rise up against the people that oppress us. And Haiti was the first black country to be liberated from slavery. You know how that happened? Through collectivism. That happened through people uniting as one. Okay, I know you don't like me. I know you don't like whatever you do this, I do that. But listen, we're here for a mutual cause. We're here for a mutual goal. All right, let's just put that to the side and let's focus on what needs to be taken care of. That's it.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey,
So,
I forgot the name of the place. It was Howard Beach.
Howard Beach. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. It's a bit of history. Raleigh, I'm gonna ask you because I mean you're 14, and definitely when I was 14, I really didn't know much about the LGBTQIA plus community. I didn't even know, you know what I mean, and was definitely homophobic, transphobic, you know, at that time, learning from society, right? And so I'm getting that information, you know, at that particular age, from people who are less informed about that community, right? Not even thinking that, oh, you know, that black people can be, queer folks, or all those different, issues, just confusion. We might have had, I feel like we've had more information from this community as of, the last few years, several years. I've worked with this, within that community, worked with that community on a number of different issues that affected, folks who are queer, folks who are not, and issues that, that's obviously, I gave an example that an issue that spoke, so much, to me as a black man, in Sean Bell. We know that, the police murdered Sean Bell in 2006, right? And what happened was that they were afraid of, and oftentimes they're afraid of our fearlessness and even that masculinity, right? That's very real. They're afraid of that masculinity, right? I know that from jogging. I know that from having guns pointed at me by police. You understand? I know that from being cuffed, a youth and an adult. Understand that masculinity has an impact on that. But understand, just like Kevin said, it don't matter. If you're black, if cops are around, they're coming for you first. They don't give a shit if you trans, you queer, you straight. Listen, I'm here patrolling. I'm focusing on y'all, you know, and I know that from firsthand in that reality. And tell me what this conversation is to you. Also, what is your understanding of the LGBTQIA plus community, Raleigh?
The only thing I really know about it is that there are a bunch of protesters that trying to get equal rights for what they do. That's one thing I know from social media around protesting for equal rights. It's really the only thing I know about that community.
Okay. That's fair enough. We still learning, you know, so much, you know, in that community. So what I want to know, I'm looking at the time. I'm wondering if there are other questions that are out there. Tim, if you have questions, in VegFest UK have, you know, any questions for us? Also, you know, what are folks? Yeah, definitely. If y'all want to have that conversation, well, I know we keeping it. I'll just start it off and ask Tim a question. If you don't have, I'm gonna ask you a question. So we come unapologetically black. How does that resonate with you and VegFest in UK? Now, of course, I done been to VegFest UK. I done had a lot of love there, but I always know that I'm black when I'm in there, you know. But what is that? What is that? And what part do you play? And what part do you play in all of this, Tim? I'm talking.
Well, a very small part, but a very, very happy part. It's a privileged part of privilege. But when I hear unapologetically black, you know, my heart sings with joy, and my head sings with joy too. You know, I love to hear that. I love to hear what you're doing, why you're unapologetically black, and these conversations need to be heard. You know, they're just not heard enough. VegFest is a white, predominantly in the UK is predominantly white, and the vegan circles have been predominantly white. And certainly when we go back 30, 40 years ago, you know, there weren't really any black. There weren't any black voices at all. There was lots of women. We had a really good, strong women. And we're still in the UK. We've got some really strong women leaders. We're really well represented. It's only in the last few years, really, that we've really heard black voices. And we've got some really strong ones now. But it's been American-led often. You know, we've had people like Brenda Sanders and Milton Mills, Christopher Sebastian coming over to the UK more than once and sharing. And I mean, you know, Brenda Sanders is brilliant. She came over twice, actually. Really inspired people. And I think when we had black headline speakers, a lot of black people started feeling comfortable about coming to VegFest. Right. And we had a lot more, you know, diversity in the last few years. But it's challenging because you know it's like you're trying to be a broad tent. You're trying to, with a VegFest, you're trying to keep a lot of different people on board, lots of different voices and lots of different approaches, and I try and make sure everybody's welcome and feels safe. Is always going to be a challenge, but you know, I love it. I've got to say, I love it, and I do. You know, not always really know what I'm doing, but I mean, I remember when you first turned up on Omowale like 8 years ago. You just got in touch and you said, "Oh, you know, I've just gone vegan," and I'm a kickboxer and I want to come over to your event. And it's like, yeah, you know, that's brilliant. Here's an airfare and you came over and we just made it up as we went along. So I love it. I love to see more black voices. And we try and welcome as many black voices and brown voices and trans voices and LGBTQ plus voices. But I can't say that we always succeed in that at all. And I recognise that we don't come close sometimes. So it's really good to have all you guys come on and talk and listen and converse, you know, and I'm really interested, especially Raleigh, what's happening, because you're like just coming up into this world. You've got the next 70, 80 years ahead of you. You know, Kevin, you and I, like, I guess, you know, sort of knocking on the other side of it all now, like, you know, over the hill. But it's nice. It's all downhill now. It gets easier. But, you know, Raleigh, you've got it all ahead of you. And Scott, you're from Brixton originally, right?
Oh, say again?
Is you from Brixton?
Oh, no, I have family from there.
Okay, because Brixton's like, you know, really amazing place.
I got family from there, yeah. I'm Jamaican, but, you know, I have family out in the UK. And
So, you know, look, I love it. And I'm really happy to have Omowale. And I know, you know, you are unapologetically black. And we want to hear more of that. We've got some good voices in the UK. A guy called Jay Brave, who runs a thing called Black in the Open, which is about making sure that white people, like, encouraging white people to have these conversations. Because I think white people, obviously, don't speak for white people here, but I think in the UK, white people, especially white men, are, you know, we're wary of we want everybody to see. We don't want to see race, you know. We don't want to see race. We don't want to go, oh, you know, you're black. And it's like, you know, we don't want to be thought like we're racist, but it's the opposite. We need to have these conversations. We need to recognise structural racism, institutional racism, and what a part that plays on all of us. And if we're not going to engage with black voices and black issues, then we're not really going to, you know, get through this. So all right, really, I want to do welcome all voices. We've got a really good opportunity to engage from all around the world. We can link up. I want to encourage more. Omowale, I've got a question for you though too. Is, you know, how much do you think, you know, like the Brotha Vegan, and this is for all of you, Kevin, Stott, Raleigh, is for all of you, is that how much do you think, you know, you mentioned about masculinity, and of course there's this big problem of toxic masculinity. It's really refreshing to hear you talking about trans communities too, and highlighting how much, you know, toxicity there is there. How much do you think, you know, like the Brotha Vegan is, of course, influenced, of course, by Sister Vegan and Dr. Bruce Harper and the work of Dr. Bruce Harper. How much do you think, you know, there's a need for feminist principles and feminist ideas to come into, you know, black men especially?
Well, I'll definitely take that head on. In the conversations that I've had generally with black women, especially, you know, relationships that I have with black women who are womenist, you know, I get treated great. I don't know. I can't always speak to, you know what I'm saying, other men, you know what I mean? But I generally, I'm you know, I'm treated well. You know, and I think that, you know, black men starting in sometimes starting in on how they're being treated, you know, the conversation. With that being said, that I'm being treated well, regardless if I'm being treated well, you know, I need to make sure that I add space for within my community. Let me explain what I'm saying. If I'm in my community, I might have power in my community, right? And so I want to utilize those resources to make sure that that women feel safe, right? Because me jogging in you know, in Prospect Park, it's one of the large parks, or Central Park. Y'all may be more familiar with that in Bedfest, UK. Huge park, and at night I don't have an issue, with doing that. I don't have a fear, but there are a lot of women that do, right? So women might not be able to get out there, so it's less time. And who are they afraid of? Men. We do this. When we have children, we also express this, that I don't know, we're not afraid that she's going to be accosted by some other woman. We think it guys. And we also think it cisgendered, heterosexual men. So if we roll with that and we're going to tell, women to be careful, we need to be talking to our men. We need to be talking to our brothers. We need to be talking to other men. So we have that conversation. We have our own conversation where we talk about these things and that we lift them up, right? So I have there's a hoodie that I wear where I'm living. I live in Trump County, and it says protect Black women at all costs. And so I wear that, at times, because it's very real within our community. We can be, women can be, attacked. And so we utilize that power. We have that little bit of power in our community. The same way that I told, white folks in the larger community, and to step up and offer access. So I appreciate that you do that and you respond, and I just want folks to respond regularly. Why? Because I'm in this struggle every single day. We Black every single day. Trust and believe. There's issues with jobs. There's issues with income. There's issues with police. There's issues with healthcare. There's issues with discrimination in housing. I had to go through a lot just to get my home. And it reeked of racism. So I want white folks every single time, and I call on you, I want you to come through. Just like I open that and I say I protect, Black women and trans at all costs. Opening that voice. So I'm just saying, folks, if you privileged, you privileged, you step up and you support folks. And that's how we do it. Same thing we talk about animals. And I pose that to white vegans especially. If you feel that you're going to support animals all the time, well, you got to start with your own species. You start with your own species and you sign on to the 7 points allyship that's on Black Veg Fest page. Sign on. Now we got a community. Now we're working. Now we're so-called working together, right? Now we are also, being there. And so the time that and the last thing I'm going to say, because I know some other folks want to speak on this, is that 2018, I reached out to you. You came through and supporting and linking us, and you are a big part of getting Black Veg Fest to blow up, because the white vegan community wasn't going to accept that. And you saw that in the comments, right? That they saw Black on it, and so that must be racist, because we talking about Black. We talking about our community. We don't always talk about our community. We have to talk about our community. We're never not talking about our community. We have to, in order to grow. And so that was, so I want white folks. So when I commend you, that's because I want white folks to follow your lead. You understand? To follow your lead when you support. When we I got the resources. You know what I'm saying? Y'all are the privileged. Also the folks that exploited, right? So we rectifying history, and we doing a great job on that, and on the vegan front. And so we're gonna continue that. I'm gonna leave it to the other brothers to speak.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with Omowale. And I think one of the issues is, and I think it's going back to what Scott says, my people suffer for lack of knowledge. There's a book that I would highly recommend, not only just white Americans, but around the globe, to read this book. Although it talks about the white supremacist experience in America. It's called White Rage by Carol Anderson. White Rage by Carol Anderson. And she has documented successfully that every time there has been some type of advancement of Black folk, white folk will erupt in rage and try to stop it. It's not a long book. It's a short book, but it's very, very, very powerful. And I think, as a protector, that's an updated name for a bodyguard. as a protector for all these years, I'm invested when I'm on a security detail, and I got to give a shout out to Elijah Shaw, who's the CEO of Icon EP. I don't have to agree with folk, but my duty is to make sure they get home safely. Forget all the politics and all this other stuff. I have to make sure that this is a zero-fail mission. So I have protected all different kinds of people, colors, sexual orientation. My duty is to make sure they get home safely, or make sure there's no violence perpetrated on them. I want to take this time out because the context is relevant, that I was on a security detail with the late Cicely Tyson before she died. And she was a long-time vegan. She was a vegan in 1960s. And I want to tell you that she was one of the most gracious and sweetest protectees that I ever had. And she was out loud vegan. I mean, she would let you know that she was a vegan. And then when she found out I was a vegan, we had a kinship, so to speak. So I want to give a shout out to that wonderful lady that has gone before us. But, that's my duty as a protector. I don't care what your situation is. If I'm assigned to protect you, my duty is to have a zero-fail mission and to make sure there's no violence on you or take you away from violence or make sure you get home safely. And I think that's the way we should act as men.
Absolutely, Kevin. Fantastic. And that's really interesting. Thanks for mentioning that too. That's really interesting. Saw that on the news too, sadly. I didn't know she'd be speaking. That's really interesting. So Scott, what do you we've got Raleigh back too in a minute. So Scott, what do you think? Do you know what? Like Omowale, you just said something about, what do you want to see? I mean, you must be so fed up with white veganism and seeing white people let you down time again. And what would you like to see from people? I mean, I know Omowale, you do courses, and I'd love to talk to you about making those. We'll talk to people about how we can perhaps get people to sign up for them. But what would you like to see a bit more from the white community, Scott?
I think you're saying, Scott, sorry.
Yeah, I'm here. Going back to what Brother Kevin said, he said something that really it really struck something in me. I'm like, wow, this is really true. He said, anytime Black people uprises, somehow racist white folks bring it down. The greatest example I can give to you is Black Wall Street. The greatest example I can give to you is Black Wall Street, a time in the 1920s during the Great Depression where Black people were thriving in Oklahoma. Is it Oklahoma? All right, Oklahoma businesses, Black Wall Street. So you can imagine the money coming in and the infrastructure that was being built until one day a group of racist white folks came and burned the whole thing down. And not just burn down the businesses, there was also casualties as well. Just because Black people are thriving, Black people are doing the best that they can throughout the Great Depression, and they're building infrastructure for their family, for the family, the community, everything, until one day a group of racist white folks, we're gonna call it for what it is, came and burned the whole thing down, killed people, women, children, everything, burned it to the ground. It does not exist anymore. Black Wall Street does not exist anymore. So that was a great example of what Brother Kevin said. But I think the most important thing that I just want to see is understand where we're coming from, understand where we're coming from, and also there needs to be an icebreaker. Like there needs to be somebody that can educate and to let them understand, okay, this is where we're coming from, and from there maybe we can have some kind of unity. But you cannot just come in and think that everything is going to be run by white supremacy. I mean, the fact of the matter, it is. But as far as white veganism goes, understand that this is a worldly thing. this is a worldly thing. This is a humanity thing. So they need to come in and understand, to just have an open mind and be like, okay, yes, you're black, yes, you're Indian, yes, you're whatever the case may be, but we're all vegans at the end of the day. We're all plant-based at the end of the day. We'll all have a mission. We all have a goal. We all have something that we want to achieve as people. So the most important thing is this unity at the end of the day. That's it. Yeah.
Thanks, Scott. We're coming towards the end of the time, and it's a challenge. I mean, unity is a huge word. I mean, I just hope, just like to see more white people listen to black people, really, and share our spaces a bit more and encourage more listening and get engaged and just engage, really, is do a bit more work with it instead of we do see the sort of people so defensive still in the in the vegan groups too. So white people so defensive about this stuff. It's just so unnecessary. It seems to take so long to break down. Raleigh, what do you're in New York? You're going to school and stuff. What's your take on? You've been listening in a bit now, no? And Ratu, you're seeing people. Are you seeing people going vegan? Are you seeing lots of different cultures, lots of different backgrounds going vegan? Or
wait, can I add on one more thing? I apologize. I did not want to cut you off.
That's right. It's just
I just want to add on one more thing. The early signs of veganism, which I believe they gave the word vegan in the 60s or the 70s or something like that.
In the 40s, yeah, 1940s,
something like
40s,
that. Now,
40s.
Before that, the early signs of veganism or vegetarianism came from the ancient kingdom of Kemet. That's before Egypt, because the people ate off the land, and when you eat off the land, you're eating grain, whole grain. You're eating camel, you're eating quinoa, you're eating rice per se. So the early form of veganism, which they gave the word in the 1900s, started with black people, started with African people. And people need to understand that as well too. You need to go back into your history. You need to understand the origin. So when they have this whole white supremacy thing, like, oh, white people started veganism, this, that, and third. No, not exactly. The word, yes, but the lifestyle and the way of living started in ancient Kemet.
Well, we talked about this a lot, actually, and what we refer to, because if you look at all sorts of, like Al-Mari, there's a poet from Syria 1,000 years ago who was one of the first recorded vegan philosophers. You've got, obviously, a Jamaican Ital culture, lots of Indian Hindu. You've got traces of plant-based diets, ancient Greece, all sorts of cultures. But I think the key thing about the formation of the Vegan Society in 1944 is the time I refer to as really is the growth of the vegan social movement.
Right.
And it's the time when these strands came together. And at the time during the Second World War, so times of intense violence, they came together and these people formed a group. And it's like all the big social movements, there's always a time when a group, kind of like-minded people, came together and they formed a group and they started making a social movement. And that's why we refer to that time in 1944 as a significant time, because it was the formation of the first sort of noticeable social movement that put animals first and put animals at the center of that movement. But of course, you're right, Scott, that there's strains going back millennia, and that's very interesting. You noted about the grain going back millennia. But I'm just going to come back to Raleigh and just say, that I just wanted to hear a little bit more about how you're seeing in New York and stuff at school, and how do you see the sort of white people and the racism, and what's your little insight on that there, Raleigh?
He's mute.
Hello, Raleigh. Can we unmute Raleigh? Yeah, Rob. Hello.
No, muted.
That's it.
Can you hear him now?
Yeah.
No.
That's it, Rob. Yeah. Did you hear me ask just about sort of what you're seeing with racism and white people there, and what you think maybe white people could do a bit more to in your communities there? Is that?
Well, while they're trying to figure that out, I got something to top
Hello.
Scott on the earliest vegan people.
Hello.
I like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think,
Can you hear us?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
We can hear you.
Okay, we were muted at first.
What's the question that you said?
I was just wondering how, what little
Could you
insight
repeat?
about white people in your vegan community there, perhaps some of the people you train with. What's your take on there? Is there sort of unity there? Do you see a lot of division?
Yes, I feel as though it's a pretty good community when everyone get together and just eat healthy around. Even if you have different race, or even if you have a different race, you can still come together and just be vegan, eat healthy. I feel like everyone can have that experience as to eat healthy and live your life without any worries of having diseases and things like that, eternal diseases.
I think Black Veg Fest has been a really big part in bringing these communities together, so we can share that. I agree, it's a real big opportunity. We can come together and really get over some of these, barriers that are built up. But my own feeling really is that if you're asking us, we've really got to tackle its structural racism and institutional. It's the big battle. That's where I think white people can really help. Is really tackle at an institutional and systemic level. There's some folks
I'd like to add
an hour and a half there. So yeah, go on, not true.
That's not true. Yeah, some forms of races that I see, well, maybe not direct, but a little more indirect. It's like living in the inner urban communities. We have issues living in like food deserts and all. We have issues with obtaining organic foods, healthy foods, and it's very difficult. It's a task in itself to maintain a vegan lifestyle by living here, because it's a daily basis. Because we eat fresh vegetables, I have to travel far outside our community just to obtain these things. And that's a struggle in itself. It's a struggle being a vegan alone, but it's a struggle living in the inner city, and you have to do so much effort you have to put in it just to obtain and get healthy foods.
We need to connect, brother, so I can know where you are, and I can give you, because I'm a certified vegan lifestyle coach and educator. So we'll connect underground off the steam yard. Raw True?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll connect. Because I hope there's a time where we can give up our social media information. We can do that. Yeah. But I was going to say on top of Scott Bernhardt, even biblically, because I'm a pastor, so even biblically, the first humans created in Africa, they were given a plant-based diet. You can look it up, Genesis 1:29, where the Creator gave them a plant-based diet. And for anybody that says, well, human beings were born to eat meat, well, I want you to watch National Geographic and watch that lion go after that gazelle and tear in that gazelle. And then if he takes the gazelle meat back to his friends, he never asked them to barbecue it, to bake it, to broil it, nothing like that. Human beings have to bake, broil, fry, barbecue in order to eat meat. If you are a true carnivore, you'll eat it raw. And so we don't even have the incisors to do that. We don't even have the digestive system to do that. And this is why we're experiencing all these diseases. And here's another thing. This may sound crass here, but if somebody asks you about the issue of veganism, say, well, listen, if you're a meat eater, you're just eating a corpse. You're eating a dead corpse. That's what you're doing. I'm eating something that's living. You see? Mm-hmm. And if you take that death in you and all that slaughter in you, that's why you have this depression, because they got the pharmaceuticals. 80% of the pharmaceuticals created in America, they go into the animals for slaughter. So you're taking in all that stuff in you. So you should have an advantage. Listen, I don't mind shouting and telling my age. I'll be 66 years old in July 28th. 66. Okay? And been eating plants since I was 19. And then did the vegan thing later on because I didn't hear about it. So, man, I just took a test online. They asked me what was my physical fitness age when I did the questionnaire. And they said I got a physical fitness of a 26-year-old man. 26. And I'm 66. So I'm telling you, it works. It works. Try it.
I'll second that. I'll second that.
I
4 years.
appreciate that.
And while you're making
Definitely
the transition, buy Brotha Vegan on Amazon that will be released February 23rd. So you get some more inspiration. Edited by Omowale. And all these guys are in there, plus more.
Thank you.
Now,
I appreciate it.
Give our social media information before we go.
Yeah, let me. Yeah. We're gonna wrap up. I appreciate y'all brothers being on, being available. Do know that February 23rd, Brotha Vegan is going to be available. Okay, if you are in the UK, please do. I'm going to shoot a link. If you can shoot that link, Tim, or you can go to my website as well, and you can get the link omowale.org. It's omowale.org, and get it directly from. It's everywhere. Barnes and Noble, Amazon, some independent, folks as well. If folks are in the U.S., feel free. I will ship it to y'all, but it's going to be too much to ship in UK. But the U.S. definitely will handle that. But everybody will get access to that book, and these wonderful brothers. Thank you very much for being on. I'm going to first just ask folks, if you can, please, just very quickly give a quick line. We'll start with Raleigh and go on and give your handle, for Instagram or whatever the case may be. All right, take 20 seconds.
All right, so my Instagram is Young Vegan Boxer.
It's young_vegan_boxer.
Yeah.
And his Facebook page is Raleigh-Ra-Leak Bourne. And that's again is R-A-Leak LEEK-BORN. And that's his Facebook page. That's it.
Wicked, Raleigh.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Scott.
I was just adding the young brother. Okay, so yeah, you can follow me on my social media. Instagram is Scott Bernhardt. That's SCOTT_BURNHARD. YouTube is the same thing, which is my largest platform. Scott Bernhardt, SCOTT_BURNHARD. Facebook, well, that's my actual name, Scott Bernard, which is SCOTTBERNARD. Twitter, Scott Bernhard. Okay, so I'm very active. You can follow me there. I put out a lot of content, and yeah, man, it's been a wonderful honor to be on this panel. And please get Brotha Vegan. You're gonna hear wonderful stories and testimonies from people like myself and these wonderful brothers right here. So thank you.
Kevin.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Omowale and Tim, for having us on this panel. My Instagram handle is The Vegan Bourne, like Jason Bourne, BOURNE, The Vegan Bourne. I am also on Twitter as Dr. Kevin L. Jenkins, JENKINS. And then you can find me on Facebook as Kevin Jenkins. There's a lot of Kevin Jenkins, but you'll see me standing like in a hallway with a suit on, like a bodyguard. That's my picture for January. So you can find me on those platforms. But particularly, my vegan stuff is on The Vegan Bourne, BOURNE.
All right. Okay. Just real quickly, my name together, Omowale Adewale, on all my social media as one word, all together. And omowale.org, you already have it. Get the book. Make sure you get it. blackvegfest.org. Things coming for you. Definitely we're continuing to do this work. and being consistent. I also wanted to point out that we did go to on Juneteenth. We went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we made sure we gave out food to folks as well. So I don't know if folks know, but we just had a anniversary, for June, for not only for Juneteenth, but also we've been here for 400 years in US. That was 2019, and then this year is the anniversary of Tulsa riots, Black Wall Street. Black Wall Street is still alive though, Scott. There's still some businesses that are there. I talked to some educated regulars who know about the history right there on the ground, and they still on. It's still part of Greenwood. It's the North Greenwood section, and this is the 100th anniversary, of Black Wall Street being burned down. Thank you very much, Tim. Appreciate VegFest UK, the folks commenting. Much love to y'all, and I will see y'all again next.
Thanks, guys. We're going to do 23rd of February on Omowale, so that's the next time we can link up, and then hopefully again in March. I know we've been talking about doing some further work in March 20th, 21st. But look, if you want to get in touch, any of the subjects that came up, if you want to perhaps devote a whole session to talking about these things, it's very welcome. It's really important work. We want to use the opportunity to link up and share knowledge, share content, share culture, share ideas, share good vibes, share a bit of happiness, a bit of inspiration, and it's tough times, but it's also tough times give opportunities. So on that note, thank you very much for joining us. We've got another session coming up, so we're going to say goodbye now. But thank you, Omowale, for putting this together. Scott, thank you for joining us. Kevin, well done. That's really interesting and fascinating. I'd love to hear more, especially about, Capitol Hill and stuff. And Raleigh and Rotary, thanks for joining us, and especially about your inspirational stories. And it's really good to hear that you've got generations up and coming with such steady heads and good wisdom on board already. So well done. Folks, thanks ever so much. Thanks for listening. Comment section. Put all your social medias in the comment section. We'll continue the story. Cheers, guys. Thanks a lot.